Good morning everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So here today we are going to be balancing in acidic and basic media. So after this lesson, we'll make sure that you will have no challenges under this topic. So now, how do you balance your in acidic and basic media? So now remember, these are actions that are occurring in aqueous solution, meaning to say water is ever present, they are dissolved in water. So that means to say what we are going to be doing is that to an equation we are going to be adding water, because already water is readily available and it's dissolved in water. So on one of the things we are going to be doing, we are going to be adding water. Now when we are balancing in acidic media, all we have to do is that we are just going to be adding hydrogen ions, because an acid will produce hydrogen as the only positively charged ion, meaning to say when we add our hydrogen, we are more like making it more and more acidic. So now, under this method, whether it's balancing in acidic or basic media, first we are going to be balancing in acidic media, then from there just convert it to basic media. So it's very simple. Let's get into it. So let's say we have a question that is saying Mn. So what we are going to do is that we are going to write our half reaction equation. So what do we have there? So we have our half reactions can be split. That means to say you just equate the similar things. So this shall be equal to that. So that is what we are going to have. So we are going to say our MnO4 negative shall be able to become our Mn2 positive, like that. Then what we are going to do is that we are going to identify. So as we can see, oxygen is no longer present there. So this will be named as reduction, because reduction is the removal of oxygen, like that. So then from there, what are we going to do? So what I would like you to be thinking of is in terms of poverty. If you see which one is poor in terms of having in terms of not having oxygen, so you will find that on the right hand side it is poor in terms of oxygen. So wherever there is less amount of oxygen, that's where you add your water, because water is already present. They are occurring in aqueous solution in which they are dissolved in water. So you are going to add your H2O this side. Why this side? Simply because there is no oxygen. So you have to add where there is no oxygen, or where there are fewer number of oxygens. So now from there, what we are going to do is that we are going to balance up. Now the pressure is that, so first let's balance on the number of oxygens. So we have 4 oxygens here, so we should also have 4 oxygens there. So now as you can see, another problem has been created. We have 4 times 2 for hydrogen, we have 8 hydrogens. So this number of hydrogens should also be written on this other side. So we have plus our hydrogen ions. So we are going to be adding hydrogen ions. So immediately we add ions there, it means to say we are converting it into an acid, because an acid will have hydrogen ions as the only positively charged ion. So that is what we do there. Now we have balanced everything except the charge. So how do we calculate the charge? So as we can see, we have this number of hydrogens. So we are going to have our 8 times the charge of the hydrogen is equal to +1, like that. Then here we have a charge of negative. So if it's just negative, it means to say it's -1 there. So we are going to subtract -1, like that. Then we are going to have a value that is on this side we have 8 minus 1 there, and here water, as long as it's a neutral compound, it does not have any charge. So the overall charge on the right hand side is equal to a +2. So let's subtract. We are going to get a 8 minus 1, which shall be equal to a 7, like that. So we are going to have 7 number of 7, the charge of +7 for that matter. So we have a positive 7 like that. So these calculations can just be done on a separate paper that you're not submitting. So all we want to see is where should I add my electrons. So this one is positive 7, then here it is positive 2. So how do I get from 7 to 2? It is by adding electrons. So if you add your 5 electrons, since electrons are negatively charged, you are going to find that you are going to get to positive 2, which is also here. So all you have to do is add 5 electrons so that the charges are equal. Now what I love to do is that instead of just guessing the value that you are going to put, you can use this simple equation. Get the overall charge you have found, just say whichever is greater 7, then add the electrons should be equal to what charge do you want. It is a 2. Then just take the 7 this side. We are going to have the number of electrons needed. We are going to have a 7 minus we have a 2 minus 7. This will give us a negative 5. It means to say we need 5 electrons. Electrons are negatively charged, so that's where the negative 5 is coming from. So what we are going to just do now is that we are just going to add 5 electrons on one side. So this, we are going to add our 5 electrons here. Let's add them. So we have 5 electrons like that. So these are the number of electrons that should be added in order for us to have the same charge on the right hand side and on the left hand side. So if you subtract 5 from 8, that's 3. Then 3 minus 1, that's a positive 2. That is also here. So after writing your reduction equation, if one is reduction, the other one is oxidation. So this is you balancing in acidic media. So then we have another equation, which is, let's write the half reaction for this. So we are going to have our iodide to become iodine like that. So first let's balance. We have 2 of them on the right hand side, so we have to put a 2 there. Then we are going to have, so we have, if any compound is neutral, that means to say they are not showing you any charge. It means to say the overall charge is 0. So this side we have a negative 1. Then negative 1, since there are 2 of them, each one is having negative 1 plus negative 1, which will give us a negative 2. So in other words, just multiply this by the charge, which will give us a negative 2. So on this side there is negative 2. This side there is just a 0. So what do we do in order to get to a 0? We are going to more like add the 2 electrons this side, which electrons are negatively charged. So we are going to do that. So that means to say the charge has been balanced on both sides. From here, what we are going to do is that we are going to multiply. We are going to multiply because we need to combine the 2 equations. So there will be need for us to multiply it. So we are going to multiply. So we have, if the 5 electrons that are here, we are going to interchange. So the 5 electrons are there. So we are going to get that number 5 and multiply it here like that. Then the 2 that is here, we are going to get it and multiply it to the other equation like this. Multiply by 2 there. Then all we have to do is that, let's write what we are going to have. So we have a 2 times 5. This will give us a 10 number of electrons. Then we have our 2 times 8. We are going to have plus 16 hydrogen ions. Then our 2 times the one that is here, we are going to have plus our 2 Mn or 4 negative. Then we are going to have our 2 times Mn. We are going to have 2 Mn, 2 positive. Then we have plus our 2 times 4 will give us 8 H2O like that. So this is what we have for that equation. For this other one, we have a 5. 5, we multiply it by 5, we multiply it by 2. We are going to get a 10 electrons. We have 5 times this. We are going to have 10 iodide ions. Then we have this 5. We are going to get this 5 times this, we are going to put a 5 here, then we are going to have iodide ions, then we have plus 5 times 2, this will give us a 10 number of electrons. So the way it is, as long as you have now written the electrons are on opposite sides, as long as they are on opposite sides, it means to say you can cancel them. Then just write what is remaining. So we are remaining with 16 number of hydrogen ions plus our 2Mn or 4 negative plus the other reactant that is there is 10 iodide ions. To become, we are going to have something like 2Mn, not just Mn, 2 positive. Then we are going to have plus our 8 H2O. Then last but not the least, we have plus our 5 iodide ions, like that. So as you can see, so as long as you have the hydrogens showing there, then that means to say hydrogen ions, that means to say your equation is balanced in acidic media. So this same equation can be turned into basic media by just adding hydroxides on both sides. It's more like you're neutralizing it. Let's see what we are going to do. So as we can see, this one is balanced in acidic. Now let's try our basic from this. So just doing our basic from here, all we have to do is look at the number of hydrogen ions that you have. These are the same number of hydroxides that you add. So you add 16 number of hydroxides like that on both sides so that your equation can be true like that. So just by doing this, we are going to end up with, so when you add your hydroxide plus hydrogen, you are going to form water. So it's more like you can think of it as factorizing. So take 116 and add H is H2, then we have 1 oxygen, so we have H2O. Then write what is remaining, 2Mn or 4 negative. Then we are going to have, let me move it a bit down. We have plus our 10 iodide ions to become our 2Mn, 2 positive, plus 8 H2O. Then we have plus our 5 iodide iodine. Then we have plus our 16 hydroxide ions. So now what we have is that this is what we have. So now to simplify the equation, as we can see, we have water on both sides. Here we have 8 and we also have 2. Sorry, we have 8 and 16. So now what you're going to do is that instead of you taking one, let's say water, taking it from this side to this other side, you just have to do it on a rough paper to say 16. This is 16 minus 8, which will give you 8. So wherever there is the bigger number, that's where the number will be, because you cannot have minus in an equation. So you're going to write, so from 16 you're going to write so 16 minus 8, this will give you 8 H2O. Then you have plus your 2Mn or 4 negative. Then you're going to have plus your 10 iodide ions to become 2Mn, 2 positive. Then you have plus water has been more like subtracted there. Then we have plus 5 iodine, like that. Then we have plus our 16 hydroxide ions. So just by doing this, now due to the fact that you have 16 hydroxide, and hydroxide is the characteristic of a base, so if you have just an hydroxide, it simply means to say that equation is balanced in basic media. So that is how you can go about it. So you can just add the state symbols. Liquid, you have AQ, you have AQ, you have AQ, you have iodine is a solid, then we have our AQ, like that. So let's look at our next problem. So let's try out this one. So we are balancing both in acidic and basic media. So let's begin with acidic. So acidic media, let's get this Mn equated to what is similar. So we have our Mn O4 like that, negative to become MnO2. So now the fact that we have our Mn, so this one is our reduction, since we can tell that oxygen has been removed. So we are moving from 4 oxygens to 2 oxygens. That means to say it is reduction. So now where we are going to add water, it is this side. Why add water this side? Look at which one is poor, which one has less number of oxygen. So the essence of water is you are trying to more like add oxygen. So this one has 2, this one has 4. So where there are less, that's where you add your water. So we have added water. Let's balance. So to balance, what we are going to have is that, so we have 2, so we are going to add a 2 there, so that we could have 2 plus the 2, we are going to have a 4, which is balancing this side. Now due to the fact that we have added hydrogen on the right hand side, it means to say we also have to add hydrogen on this side. So how many hydrogens? So we have 2 times 2, which is 4 hydrogens. So these 4 hydrogens should be added on this other side so that we can balance. So we are going to put 4 hydrogen ions like that. From there, balance the charge. So look at the overall charge. So this side there is no charge, so it means to say here is 0, here is 0. So the overall charge here is 0. Then on this other side we have a 4 times the 1 here. So we have 4 of them times 1. Then we have minus the 1 there. So we are going to have here, we are having a positive 3 like that. So to find out how many electrons you need, you are going to say 3 plus the number of electrons should be equal to 0. So we have positive 3. You are going to take the 3, the other side it will be, the number of electrons needed are going to be negative 3. So you are going to add 3 electrons on this side. So you are going to have 3 electrons on this side. So we are going to put our 3 electrons here plus our 3 electrons here. So just by adding 3 electrons, it means to say you have balanced the charge. So from there, what we are going to do is that we are going to, if this is reduction, the other one will be our oxidation. So for our oxidation, we have our SO3 to become SO4. Do we have a charge there? 2 negative. So here it's supposed to be 2 negative. So our SO3 2 negative to become our SO4 2 negative as well. So what we are going to have is that already you can verify that this is oxidation, since we are moving from 3 oxygens to 4 oxygens, meaning oxygen has been added, therefore it's oxidation. So what we are going to do is that we are going to add water. So the same principle applies. Which one? So this one has 3, this one has 4. So wherever there are less oxygens, that's where you add your water. So we are going to have our H2O there like that. So that is what we are going to have there. So our H2O like that. Then what we are going to do is that let's check the charge. Before we check the charge, let's balance the number of hydrogens. So already, if you can, as you can see, we have oxygen. So we have 3 plus this one, it will give us 4. That means to say the number of oxygens is balanced. So all we have to do is that we have 2 hydrogens, so we are going to just put them here. So we are going to have 2 hydrogen ions like that. So 2 of them like that. So we have written that. Now let's work on the charge. So working on the charge, what we are going to have is that if we have positive 2 there, we are going to have a positive 2. So let's look at the charge. The overall charge on the left hand side is a negative 2, which is this one. On the other side, we have a negative 2. Then we have 2 times positive 1. We are going to have plus 2, which is going to give us 0. So the overall charge on this other side is a 0. So to get to a negative 2, we need to add 2 electrons on this other side so that both of them can have an overall charge of negative 2 like that. So as you can see, 0 is greater than negative 2, so meaning to say we need to add 2 more electrons on this other side so we can have 2 electrons. So the same equation can work. So we have a negative 2 should be equal to 0 plus the number of electrons to be added. You will find that the number of electrons to be added, 0 doesn't change anything. We have E should be equal to negative 2 on this side. So those are the number of electrons. So wherever it has got a greater charge, that's where you add your electrons, because electrons will always be reducing the value. So that is what we have for that one. Then what we are going to do is that from there we are going to interchange the value of electrons by multiplying throughout. So this is what we are going to do. So we are going to have multiplying. So we have 2, this 2, we are going to multiply it here. Then this 3, we are going to multiply it on this other one. So we are going to do that. Then our 2 times 3, we are going to have a positive 6 there. So 2 times 3, it will give us a 6 number of electrons. 2 times 4, we are going to have plus 8 hydrogens. Then we have our 2 times 2, 2 times the 1 that is here, we are going to have 2 Mn, or 4 negative should be able to become this 2 times 2 here, we are times 1, we are going to have 2 Mn, or 2. Then we are going to have plus 2 times 2, we are going to have 4 H2O like that. Then we are here, so we multiply 3 times the one that is here, we are going to have 3 H2O. Then we multiply 3 times the one that is here, we are going to have plus 3 SO3, 2 negative. Then we have plus 3. So that's just that. We write the arrow 3 times the one that is here, we are going to have 3 SO4, 2 negative. Then we have plus 3 times 2, we are going to have our 6 H plus. Then our 3 times 2, we are going to have plus our 6 number of electrons like that. From there, the number of electrons are the same. So the only reason why we interchange is so that the number of electrons can be the same. So we cancel that, we cancel that. Then we are remaining with 8 hydrogen ions. Then we write plus our 2 Mn, or 4 negative. Then we have plus our 3 H2O. Then we have plus our 3 SO3 like that. So we are going to have, here we have a 2 Mn, or 2. Then we write plus our 4 of water. Then we also have plus our 3 SO4, 2 negative, plus our 6 H plus like that. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to compare. So as we can see, we have a 6 hydrogen ions, 8 hydrogen ions there. So we are going to have our 8 minus 6 if this goes the other side, which we shall do on a separate paper. So this will give you, just write the final answer here. So we have our 2 H plus like that. Then we have plus our 2 Mn, or 4 negative. Then look at your water. So this side you have 4 of them, here you have 3 of them. So that means to say you will only have 1 more of water. So it will be a 4 minus 3, which will be 1. So we have plus first our 3 SO3 to become our 2 MnO2. Then 4 minus 3 is 1, so we are going to have plus our H2O. Then we have plus our 3SO4, 2 negative. Then we have plus, so that's that. So this means to say as long as you have the hydrogen ion as the only positively charged ion, that means to say it is done in acidic media. So this is how we do the calculations in or rather that's how we do our acidic media. To do our basic media, on the other hand, we are going to have, so our basic media, we are going to have, just add hydroxides. So since we have 2 hydrogens, just add the same number of hydroxides on both sides, plus 2 hydroxides plus 2 hydroxides on both sides. So just as we said, so that's an hydroxide ion. So just as we said, take 1, 2, then we are going to have H2O. So when these two add, then we are going to have plus our 2 MnO4 negative plus our 3SO3. Then we are going to have, should be able to give us a 2 MnO2 like that. Then we have plus our H2O like that. Then we are going to have plus our 3SO4, 2 negative, plus our 2OH negative like that. Then all we have to do is, let me write properly. So we are going to have 2, so we have a 2 minus the one that is in front of water here. We are going to get a 1. So we are going to just write H2O here. Then we have plus 2 MnO4 negative. Then we have plus 3SO3. Let me just move it a bit down to become our 2 MnO2. Then we have plus our H2O like that, or H2O has been used to subtract there. Then we have plus our 3SO4, 2 negative. Then we have plus our 2OH. So as long as we have the OH, it simply means to say this is balanced in basic media. Let's look at our next question. So let's say we have this one. So similar things, equate them. So we are going to have our FeOH. Then we have a 3 there. We are going to have our FeO4 as our outcome like that. So now when you look at this type of a reaction, this is oxidation. So as you can see, we initially had 3 oxygens, as you can see. So 3 times 1 that is there. So we have 3 oxygens. Now we have 4. So this is oxidation in the sense that oxygen has been added, or you can say it is oxidation because hydrogen has been removed. As you can see, hydrogen is not showing there. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to add water. So remember, wherever there is less oxygen, that's where you add your water. So we are going to have our FeOH like that, then add your water H2O so that oxygen can increase. So we have FeO4, 2 negative like that. Therefore, the value that you are going to get is that count the number of oxygens. So we have 4. So what we are going to do is that we are going to now add our hydrogens. So as we can see, we have a 3 hydrogens plus these 2 hydrogens, which are going to give us 5. It means to say we are going to add on the other side 5 hydrogens like that. So we have balanced the number of hydrogens. Now we just need to balance the charge. So to see the charge, let's check the overall charge. So the charge here is 0. This is 0 as long as it's a neutral compound. So on this side it's 0. Then on this other side it's going to be a -2. then we have plus. Our hydrogen has got the charge of +1. Now there are 5 of them, so we are going to have a +5, which will give us a +3 like that. So likewise, form the equation. So the equation shall be a 0 should be equal to 3 plus the number of electrons. Take the 3 the other side, it will be a -3 to give you E. Remember, this should be done just on a separate marking answer sheet, these simple calculations. So we need to add 3 electrons on this other side. So we are going to add 3 electrons there. So we add plus our 3 electrons like that. Let's look at the other equation. So we have our OCl negative to become Cl negative. So for this one is reduction, in the sense that oxygen has been removed. So this is a reduction. So we had oxygen, but we no longer have it. So likewise, add your water. So add water where there is no oxygen. So Cl negative plus your water there. So plus your water. So you can just think of it as which one is poor. The one that is not having oxygen is poor. So that's where you always add your water like that. Then from there, what we are going to have is that we have our OCl here, negative. Now you have introduced the hydrogen on this side. That means to say you are also going to introduce hydrogen this other side. There are 2 of them. So we are going to put a 2 like that. Now look at the charge difference. So here we have a -1. Then here we have 2 hydrogens. So we are going to have a charge of 2 minus the 1 here, which will give us a +1. So since +1 is greater than 1, this is where you add your electrons. So you are going to form the simple equation. 1 plus the electrons should be equal to -1, which will give you electrons should be equal to -1. Then we have -1, which will give us a -2. So it means to say adds 2 electrons on that other side. So we add our 2 electrons like that. So that is how we do that one. So we add our 2 electrons like that. So from there, what we are going to do is that we are going to now interchange the values that are on the electrons. So we have 2 electrons shall come here. Then again here, we are going to multiply by our 3 electrons on the other equation. So we have a 3. So let us multiply. So our 2 times Fe, so we have a 2Fe OH 3. Then we have a 2 times H2O. We are going to have 2 H2O like that. Then we have our 2 times FeO. We are going to have, should be able to give us a 2FeO4, 2 negative. Then we have a plus. We have a 2 times 5. This will give us a 10 hydrogen H plus. Then we have plus 2 times 3. It will give us 6 electrons. So we are done with that. Let's go to this other one. Let's multiply 3 times 2. This will give us a 6 electrons. Then our 3 times this 2, it will give us plus our 3 hydrogen ions, plus our 3 times OCl. We are going to have 3 OCl like that to become our 3 times Cl. We are going to have 3 Cl negative. Then we have plus 3 times the one that is there. We are going to have our 3 H2O like that. So our 6, so as long as they are on opposite sides, we can cancel them like that. So let's write what's remaining. So we have our 2 FeOH like that. So we have 3. Then we have plus our 2 H2O like that. So this should be able to become, so let's write all the things on the reactant. So we have 3H plus our OCl, 3 of them, 3 OCl negative, like that. So to become what we are going to have a 2Fe O4, 2 negative, then we are going to have plus 10H plus, like that. Then we are going to have plus our 3Cl negative plus our 3H2O, like that. So this is what we have. So now let's just count the number of water molecules. Let's simplify, and the hydrogens and everything. Okay, so multiplying properly. So we had a 3 times this 2, which is supposed to be 6. So here we are supposed to have a 6 here. Yeah, so we are supposed to have a 6 here, a 6 here. So we are going to have a 6 there and a 6 there. So let's finish it. We are going to have our 2 FeOH 3 plus our. So what we are going to do is that, so we have 3 here, so we are going to have a 3 minus 2, which will give us 1. So, and also 10 minus 6, which will give us 4. So we are going to just write plus our OCl, like that. To become, we are going to have our 2Fe O4, 2 negative. Then we have 10 minus 6. This will give us plus our 4H plus. Then we are going to have our 3. We have plus our 3Cl negative. Then last but not the least, we have our 3 minus 2. This will give us just 1 H2O, like that. So this is what we have as our balanced chemical equation. So now this equation, whenever you see the hydrogen as the only positively charged ion, that means to say it's balanced in acidic media. To balance in basic, we just get the same equation. So what we are going to have is, we are going to add plus, so to balance in as basic, we are going to add 4, since there are 4 hydrogens. So we are going to have 4 OH on both sides, so we can add plus 4 OH. Just be careful now you write, when they are on the same side, it means to say they are more like continuing. So we are going to have something like our 2FeOH, like that, a 3, then we have plus our OCl negative, then we are going to have plus our, let's just write it here, plus our 4OH negative. To become, what we have is that a 2FeO4, 2 negative, then 4 hydrogens plus 4 hydroxide. We are going to have 4 moles of water, like that. Then we are going to have plus, we have our 3Cl negative plus our H2O, like that. So then just add now. We have 1 more of water plus 4, it will give us 5. So our final answer will be 2OH 3 plus OCl negative. Then we have plus our 4OH negative. To be able to become, we are going to have a 2FeO4, 2 negative, then we have plus 3Cl, like that, negative, like that. Then we have plus 4 plus 1, it will give us a 5H2O. So this is how we balance that one. So this is balanced in basic media, like that. Let's look at our last question. So if we have our VO4, 3 negative, to be able to become our VO2 positive, like that. So as long as the number of oxygens is moving from 4 to just one oxygen, it simply means to say this one is reduction. So this is reduction. So what we are going to do is that, let's look. So where there is less number of water, we have this side, so we are going to add our water like that. Then from there, what we are going to have is that we have added our water. Now we need to move to having, so we have 4 moles of water, so we should have, oxygens, 4 oxygens. So even on this side we should have oxygens. So the number we'll add here is a 3, so that 3 plus 1, it will give us a 4 like that. So this is what we have. So this is our reduction reaction like that. Then what we are going to have is that, since we have introduced hydrogen on this side, we should have it on the other side as well. So we are going to have plus our 6 hydrogens, so that those balance. Then let's balance the charge. So we have 6 by 1, it will be 6. Then we have minus 3, which is giving us a positive 3. Then this side we have a charge of positive 2. So how do we get, so since 3 is greater than 2, it means to say we are adding electrons on this side. So we are going to have our 3 plus an electron should be able to give us 2. So we are going to have, when we take this 3 the other side, it will be, electrons should be equal to 2 minus 3, which will give us a negative 1. So that means to say you should add an electron, 1 electron on the other side. So we are just going to add plus an electron like that. So we have balanced that equation. Let's look at this other one. So if we have our Fe2 positive to become our Fe3 positive, so this is oxidation in 2 ways. Oxidation, the number increases. So now, as we can see, the only thing that is there is that we have the charge here is positive 3. On this other side, it is a positive 2. So the same equation, we add an electron here, should be able to become positive 2. So if we take the 3 here, we are going to have a 2 minus 3, which is equal to the electron. So what we are going to get is 2 minus 1 is equal to negative 1, should be equal to an electron. So in this case, what we are going to have is that just add 1 electron on this other side. So we have plus an electron like that. Then from here, all you have to do is that just combine the 2 equations. As you can see, it is self-balanced in terms of the electrons. So all you have to do is that just combine the 2 equations. So we are going to cancel. There will be no need of interchanging because the number is the same. Then write what is remaining. So we have our 6H plus plus our VO4 3 negative plus our Fe2 positive to become, we have a VO2 positive, then we have plus our 3H2O, then we have plus our Fe3 positive like that. So this is what we have. So this is balanced in acidic. Let's just do it in basic. So to balance in basic, we are going to have the same equation, just add hydroxides. So we are going to add plus our 6 hydroxides, since there are 6 hydrogens there. Then also here on this other side we have 6 hydroxides like that. Then just be able to convert. So we have 6 and a 6 here, so we are going to write 6H2O like that. Then we have plus our VO4 3 negative, then we have plus Fe2 positive to be able to become VO2 positive plus our 3H2O, then we have plus our Fe3 positive plus our 6OH negative. So due to the fact that this is available, you can already tell to say this is balanced in acidic media. The hydroxide is showing. So from there, so we have 3 here, we have 6. So we are going to have 6 minus 3. this will give us a 3. So we are going to have 3 moles of water like that. So 3 moles of water plus our VO 4 3 negative plus our Fe 2 positive to be able to become VO 2 positive plus our, so water, we subtracted it when it went there. So we have our Fe 3 positive, then we have plus our 6 OH. So this is how we do it. So this is balanced in basic media due to the presence of hydroxide. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you would like, subscribe, and share for more. See you in the next tutorial.